This is WFYI News Now. It's July 14th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, why certain family caregivers could once again be allowed to provide attendant care through Indiana Medicaid. Residents at a downtown apartment complex sue the Indianapolis Housing Agency. And Indiana is no longer moving forward with its plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
That doesn't change the floodwaters. That doesn't change the extreme weather. That doesn't change the extreme heat that we will experience.
Those stories coming up. But first, school leaders in Marion County are backing a proposal to extend youth curfew hours after 2 weekends of violence left 5 teenagers dead. The proposed ordinance would move curfew for minors up by 2 hours, starting at 9 p.m. on weeknights for teens 15 to 17. The city's school superintendents say it's a step toward prevention, not punishment. A city-county council committee will consider the curfew proposal on Wednesday. Certain family caregivers could be allowed to provide attendant care through Indiana Medicaid again, under a new proposal from the state. Abigail Ruman reports whether or not families qualify would depend on how the state chooses to define extraordinary care.
If someone's care meets the definition of extraordinary for a certain program, then a legally responsible individual, such as a spouse or a parent of a minor, can be paid to provide the service. Extraordinary care refers to care that falls outside of what a spouse or parent would provide to a non-disabled individual. Advocates raise concerns that FSSA's proposed definition of extraordinary care for attendant care services is too restrictive. Holly Wimsatt with FSSA says the definition is only supposed to allow a small group of people to have legally responsible individuals provide the service for them.
The reason we are looking at that attendant care service is really to address what has been elevated to us for individuals who have family members with complex medical needs.
Medicaid officials say there may be other options if someone doesn't qualify for attendant care. I'm Abigail Ruman.
Wimsatt says the definition is subject to change as the state receives and reviews more feedback. Residents at a downtown apartment complex are suing the Indianapolis Housing Agency for removing security amid safety concerns. Zach Castle reports on how the lawsuit is progressing.
Residents of Lugar Tower are suing manager Indianapolis Housing Agency and owner Lugar LP for removing security and claims of ongoing neglect. At least one of 3 previous lawsuits centered on issues with in-person security. Court records show the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department dispatched to the building 883 times since early 2023. The latest lawsuit states that most of the 250 residents of the public housing apartment complex are elderly. Many have serious health concerns. The court partially granted a temporary restraining order on June 30th. It required Lugar LP and IHA to provide security during weekdays and weekends when staff isn't present until August 28th. Attorneys for Lugar Tower delayed a response to the complaint until August 11th. I'm Zach Castle.
And for our final story today, Indiana is no longer moving forward with its plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the state. Rebecca Thiel reports now that both the federal and state government aren't leading climate efforts, the challenge of addressing climate change in Indiana mostly falls to local governments.
The Indiana Department of Environmental Management released the state's initial climate plan last year with the help of a grant from the Biden administration. And though it was passed over for an additional grant, the agency said it would still go through with the plan. That all came to a halt in April when the governor ordered the state not to further develop these climate plans without his consent or that of the state legislature. Shannon Anderson with Earth Charter Indiana says implementing the plan would have improved Hoosiers' quality of life, created jobs, and put more clean energy on the grid to serve the growing demand. She says the state's lack of interest won't keep the climate from changing.
That doesn't change the floodwaters. That doesn't change the extreme weather. That doesn't change the extreme heat that we will experience.
Anderson hopes Indiana will find ways to integrate greenhouse gas emissions into other programs like transportation. I'm Rebecca Thiel.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.